What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Huddle podcast. We've finally returned
It's
to
been a minute.
it has been a long time. Long awaited return. As you can see, Hayden is not with us. He is in Indiana, skiing and doing more less fun stuff than what we're doing.
You ready?
Yeah.
So we're gonna make our complete 13 game NFL playoff predictions, including the wild card, divisional round, conference champ, and the Super Bowl. Um, Hopefully my Lions win it, but not biased at all. So yeah, we can start with the AFC wild card. Jacob, do you want to start with?
Yeah, that works.
All right.
Right, so Browns Texans is the first game this Saturday, well, the time when we're recording this. So, this is one of those games where I think this could easily go either way. The Browns defense is just so good, but then CJ Stroud's been something else this year. He's been special. But I feel like the Texans, first year head coach, first year rookie quarterback, I feel like facing an experienced vet like Joe Flacco, who's been to the playoffs, who's won playoff games, has a Super Bowl under his belt, and when you have probably the top, if not the second best defense in the NFL, I think it's going to be hard for the Texans in their first playoff game in a bit to come out and win this. So I have the Browns, but I would not be surprised if the Texans pull it off.
Yeah. I believe in Joe Flacco to at least get it done here in this first round against Houston. I know the environment is going to be crazy in Houston because they haven't had a home playoff game in a while. I mean, I guess 2020 they did, but uh I don't think the Texans offense is going to do much against the Browns defense. Like you said, Jacob, they're at least for sure top 5 defense in the league. Probably top 3. But I think CJ Stroud's going to get picked off a couple times, get sacked by Myles Garrett, like he always does. And I think the Browns pull it out.
All right, yeah. So, yeah, the Browns moving on. That's a consensus. Dolphins
Here's
Chiefs, kind of a
Tyreek
tougher one.
Hill return to Arrowhead. The Dolphins have not won a playoff game since 2000.
I'll go. So I feel like this one is hard, but I feel like it's easier just how the Dolphins have been playing of late. Their offense hasn't looked as dynamic as it did for this first little bit of their season. They have really fallen off a lot in the second half. They have I feel like they've only have 2 wins against teams that have an above 500 record or something like that. And I just feel like the Chiefs in Arrowhead, if their receivers can catch at least one football, Mahomes knows how to win playoff. I'm gonna re-say that. Mahomes knows how to win in the playoffs, and we just haven't seen Tua in the playoffs. Last year, if you remember, it was Skylar Thompson who almost led them to a win over the Bills. But this is our first time seeing Tua with some playoff action. But I feel like it's just going to be too hard in Arrowhead in prime time to win that football game.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many times the Dolphins have played in negative degree weather, which is the forecast in Kansas City for Saturday, January 13th at 7 p.m. So that definitely is advantage Kansas City there. Um, I know Tyreek Hill is going to go off because he always does, and especially it's his first game back in Arrowhead in the opposing team's jerseys. But I think Patrick Mahomes, he's not losing in the wild card. I don't remember the last time he did. I don't know if he has.
Never lost in the wild card. The shortest he's gone is the divisional against the Patriots in like 2019.
Yeah. So I think in Arrowhead, it's just probably the best home field advantage there is in the NFL,
Yeah.
and that's gonna rattle Tua, and he's gonna throw some picks in costly situations, and it's gonna give the Chiefs the win.
All right. So far we've got a consensus in the AFC. And so we're gonna head to
We'll stick
Steelers.
in the AFC.
I don't think we really need to talk about this one a whole bunch. Steelers have a great defense, but no TJ Watt. Maybe Minka Fitzpatrick's back for this game, but he does not have as big of an impact. He'll have an impact, but not as big as one as TJ Watt would. Bills have been on fire of late, and I just feel like there's a very good chance the Bills could go even all the way this year. But I think this one's pretty simple. I think the Bills will stomp the Steelers unless Mason Rudolph can turn it on like he has these last couple weeks. But I don't know. In Buffalo, I don't think there's a chance.
Yeah, and it is gonna be snowing in Buffalo. There's a 60% chance of snow Sunday afternoon. But with TJ Watt being out for the Steelers, who's their biggest playmaker on defense, I think Josh Allen is just gonna do whatever he wants on offense and probably throw for at least like 350 yards and like three
You can't,
touchdowns.
and if it does snow, you can't forget James Cook had one of the best running back seasons in the league. He had a really good season.
Yeah, James Cook really flew under the radar for a lot of people. But I do think the Bills win here by double digits because I just think their offense is too good and their defense. I mean, it's Mason Rudolph. What do you expect? But we've seen crazier things happen. So
All right, so the AFC, we have a consensus, which I was a little surprised. Well, not really. The AFC seems a little easier. It seems like mostly, except for the Texans, the top seeds will win. But we always have one of those crazy upsets. So I would not be surprised if by next week the Dolphins, Texans, and Bills are the playoff teams, or if it's just a wash and everyone, the top seeds makes it an AFC. The AFC is kind of a toss up this year.
first game in the NFC, we have the Packers and the Cowboys Sunday afternoon.
This one was a little bit actually a little bit tough for me as as the season's gone on. Jordan Love has really shown his Aaron Rodgers training. He sat behind him for I want to say was it 4 years because he was the last pick in the first round in 2019. So I think it's been sorry, I think it's been 4 years since he was drafted and he's really been showing that. But I feel like the Cowboys in Dallas, that crowd's gonna be rowdy as they always are. It's Texas. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be like the Cowboys defense is too good. CeeDee Lamb is too good because there was a report Jair Alexander rolled his ankle during the walkthrough practices. So I'm assuming he'll play, but he might not be 100%. So CeeDee Lamb's gonna have his way with him. And I feel like the Cowboys defense, which is if the Browns is the second best, I feel like the Cowboys is have the best defense in the NFL. So I feel like that they're going to be enough to shut down Jordan Love in his first playoff game.
Um, I don't think the Cowboys have the best defense in the NFL. We'll get to that later. But anyways, I think the Cowboys they do have a top three defense, and they haven't lost in Jerry's world this season. And I don't think that will end against Green Bay. I know Jordan Love's having a good year, but their defense is not the best, to say the least.
Yep. This
And
season, it's not Joe Barry's last year, then I would be incredibly surprised.
and CeeDee Lamb can have his way with any 100% corner. He'll still drop 200 yards probably. But I think the Cowboys are gonna shut down the Packers on offense, and
Yeah, I feel like so far we've had a wash, but I feel like Cowboys easily are going to take this one. It's not going to be a blowout. I feel like Green Bay can keep it close. It's going to be tough. against Dallas. Dallas is a really good matchup for them.
Yeah, and these next games are where it really gets tricky because we have Matthew Stafford, his return to Ford Field, and Jared Goff's revenge game against his former team as well. Ford Field, it's the
You want
first
to talk
time
about?
it's the
Do you want
first
to talk
time
about?
Ford Field has ever hosted a playoff game.
Do you want to talk about this one first? Because I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
I can go.
All right.
Um, I think Detroit, I can't imagine how loud that place is gonna be because they have never hosted a playoff game. Um, but I think Dan Campbell is the better coach here. And I think the Lions, I know Matthew Stafford and Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup is a really, really good offense and receiving core. Um, but I think the Lions have enough guys on defense who can kind of slow them down. And I also think the tandem running back room of David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, the rookie, uh, I think is going to be a little too much for LA. It'll be a really close and a really good game. I know that for a fact. But I think as long as the Lions don't get screwed over by the refs on a 2-point conversion, I think they'll win.
Yeah. So this is gonna be, I think, the best game of the week. If it's not, if the best game isn't gonna, it's gonna either be this or Chiefs Dolphins. I feel like these are two teams that are obviously they got a lot of history, not like in general, but like they've got a lot of players that have played for their teams in the past, a lot of players that want to get their revenge, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of storylines in this game. And it's tough because this is the first time the Lions have been in the playoffs in a long time. The first time they've hosted a playoff game in a long time. I feel like it's going to be tough facing off against what was 2 years ago the Super Bowl champion. But I will say, I feel like the Lions have the advantage offensively. Their offensive line is great. Yeah, it's going to be hard to contain Aaron Donald, and then they have had two really good breakout seasons for their two defensive tackles. But I feel like their line is good enough to hold it off. Their running back room is good enough to run it up. I feel like the Lions are going to win this one in a close one. This is my game of the week.
I agree. We're still both agreeing on everything. But
Yeah, this is
but
the one where it might deviate.
but um the Eagles have I wouldn't even say they've been limping into the playoffs. I'd say they've been like
They've been
crawling.
carried on a stretcher
They
into the playoffs.
they've been carried on. Yes, that's yeah. The Buccaneers obviously won a weak NFC South, but they won it either way. Um, Baker Mayfield had a pretty good season. Um, and uh, I
This
think
one's tough because the Eagles are 1-5 in their last 6 games. They came, like I said, they've been carried onto a stretcher, barely holding on to life into the playoffs. And they lost the division to the Cowboys. I feel like they've got a lot of like people that are not on their side right now, but I feel like they're a team that could easily make a surprise Super Bowl run. But they run into a tough place where it's like Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl 3 seasons ago. They know the culture. They've got Baker Mayfield, which he's not the best quarterback, but you got to admit he's got some grit. He knows how to win in the playoffs, which he's only been there once. But when he was in the playoffs, he won in the first round with the Browns. So it's like this one's also a toss up. In a low scoring one, if this game stays low scoring, the Eagles secondary is so bad to where I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to have their way. And I feel like I have the Buccaneers taking this one. And I feel like it's just because the Eagles secondary. And like if if Tampa Bay's defense can hold up and allow less than like 24 points, I feel like this one is gonna be the Buccaneers are gonna take it just because the receiver room is too good and the Eagles secondary is really bad.
yeah. The Eagles probably have the biggest chip on their shoulder of any teams in the playoffs. They obviously made it to the Super Bowl last year, lost in heartbreaking fashion, but they started off 10-1 this season. Everyone thought they were gonna win the Super Bowl this year, but then when they lost to the I can't remember the order of the teams they lost to, but they lost to the Niners and the Giants, the Cardinals, some not very good teams. Um, but I Nick Sirianni he's gonna put something into this Eagles team. Uh, he's gonna give him a big pep talk pregame, and I think it's gonna be close for at least the first half. I think it will finish close, but it could end up being a runaway for either team. But I think the Eagles are gonna win and get some momentum back for the divisional.
Yeah, again, I can 100% see the Eagles winning it. It's just how bad their secondary has been, and I know how good Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are. So it's like I don't know. It's a toss up.
So I have Eagles. Jacob has Bucks. We're gonna advance to the divisional round here. So if the games went as we predicted, it would be Ravens hosting the Browns for the first game.
So I can go first. Now this one is one of the tougher ones, just because it's a divisional opponent. Joe Flacco going back to Baltimore, where he led them to so much playoff success. Two of the top defenses in the NFL. I know you were gonna say that they're probably the top defense in the NFL. That's my fault. I forgot their defense is so good. But this one's tough for me because the Ravens have looked untouchable all season. Like, I mean, the Titans are kind of close with them, but that was like week 5, which was like
In London.
kind of fluky. But like every other team, they've steamrolled all of the good teams. But for whatever reason, I just have that weird belief that somehow, some way, Joe Flacco is leading them to the conference championship round. The Ravens always find a way to choke it somehow in the playoffs. Their defense will make one mistake. Joe Flacco, Amari Cooper will have like 500 yards or something. I don't know. Something will go wrong on the Ravens' part. Lamar will get hurt in practice. I don't know, but I've just got that feeling that somehow, some way, the Browns would take this one home.
Yeah. Um, this one is also, yeah, very, very hard to pick. Um, this one is so hard because both defenses are amazing. Um, it's just gonna I think it's gonna be a matter of which quarterback can make the most plays downfield. And from what we've seen this season, that's Lamar Jackson. That's been Lamar Jackson all year. Um, and I believe the last time these teams played, oh, the Ravens beat the Browns 28-3 the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Browns came into Baltimore and won 33-31. I think Lamar Jackson is going to make more plays than Joe Flacco, and I think those plays are going to come when they need it most, and that's going to be the difference. Joe Flacco, I love his story, and I think he should win Comeback Player of the Year. But I think that Cinderella run of his is going to come to an end here this season to Lamar.
I could very much see that. I just want to see that happen. Really, that's why I'm picking it. I want to see the Browns win just for the storyline. But
That's fair.
if I was the script writer, that would be what I'd pick. But I don't know. I think the Ravens could very easily stomp the Browns, but this game could also very easily be 13-10 just because of how good the defenses are. So I don't know. It's just going to be how both defenses play.
So that makes the next game a rematch of one of the best football games I've ever seen in the 2022 AFC divisional round between the Bills and the Chiefs. It'll be in Buffalo. They're the 2 seed. Kansas City's the 3 seed.
For me, this one's actually one of the easier ones to pick. I don't know. This is one of the best games I've seen played 2 years ago. But I feel like these teams are vastly different from when they played even just that like short ago. And the Bills, the Chiefs didn't have to be carried on a stretcher into the playoffs like the Eagles, but they didn't make it easy on themselves getting into the playoffs. When we had like 3 weeks to go, If things would have fallen a different way, the Broncos could have technically taken the division, and which is not something I thought I'd say. Well, preseason I thought I'd say that, but it's vastly different in season. So it's like it's not been a great year for the Chiefs. Can't catch the football to save their lives. I just feel the Bills take this one. I don't think it's a blowout. I think this one will be close, and it'll come down to Mahomes trying to make more plays than Allen. But Josh Allen just has such a much better supporting cast, and I feel like this one's going to be taken by the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills are arguably the hottest team in the league right now, the hottest team in the playoffs. They ended the season on a 5-game win streak, including a win at Arrowhead, um, which concluded with a what Patrick Mahomes thought as a horrible call, but it was I believe the
It
completely
it
correct
was it
call.
was the right call,
It was a
100%.
correct call. But anyways, they rattled off 4 more wins, including one against the Cowboys where they utterly dominated. Um, and I think that momentum's gonna carry them into the AFC Conference Championship after they beat Kansas City in Buffalo. It'll probably be like negative 30 degrees, but and that's where Buffalo thrives. I mean, they both play in freezing cold temperatures, but
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen is going to make the plays he needs to when he needs to. In clutch moments, he's going to come up big.
hmm Yeah, I feel like it's not easy, but it feels easier, at least to me, than what I would have said last year if the Chiefs and Bills would have played in the playoffs, which they didn't, I don't think.
So that brings
But
us to the NFC. So you had the Bucks winning, right?
yeah,
You had all chalk in the NFC.
I had all chalk in those. So yeah.
So you have 49ers Bucks. I have 49ers Eagles.
So to me, in my scenario where it's 49ers Bucks, I feel like the Bucks are gonna get smacked. 49ers are just too good of a team to lose to the now they didn't limp into the playoffs like the Eagles. They were fine down the stretch. They didn't like look dominant, but they looked fine. Obviously they had that big loss at the Ravens, but everyone in the regular season loses lost to the Ravens, so it's like I don't know, it's just they looked bad in that one game. They've looked great every other game. I feel like they take this one, and this one would be like 35-10. I don't think it would be like I don't think they would have a chance.
Yeah, so in my scenario, it would be 49ers versus Eagles, which, if you recall, last time these teams played,
No, it was not. It
it
did
was a
not go well for
massacre. It was a
San
massacre
Francisco.
by San Francisco. And
It
I
was not a
think
massacre by San Francisco. It was a massacre by Philadelphia.
San Francisco won though
Not last year.
last time they played.
Oh, last time they pl Oh, I didn't hear you. That's my fault.
Anyways,
I thought,
last time these two teams played, it was in Philly. The 49ers won 42-19.
yeah, it was not
Um,
not close.
and I think the real best defense in the league um is gonna carry them to victory over Philadelphia.
Okay, so you thought the 49ers are the best in the league. I
Fuck
like the
this.
49ers defense. They're very good. I appreciate their defense a lot. So I think in both in our scenarios, we got 49ers moving on to the conference championship game.
And we have the rematch between the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions.
Now, okay, I think that Dan Campbell, if this got to this point, I think Dan Campbell would fire up this Lions team. They'd come out hot. I feel like the Lions would score like 17 unanswered or something crazy like that at one point. I think the Lions take it just because how angry they are at the last time they play them. Because they could have been this 2 seed right here and playing the Packers instead of the Rams. But the refs had to follow the script and get Rams, Lions in the playoffs. And it's cooler, but it's like they're still mad at the refs for that. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna take the Lions, but just how good the Cowboys are. I feel like the Cowboys are a good team, but I just feel like the Lions have more motivation.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell said after the game in week 16 against the Cowboys that uh or week 17. He said that they're going to use the loss as fuel. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's in Jerry's world, obviously, and
Yeah.
that's where the Cowboys have been unbeatable, where they beat Detroit earlier this season. But I think Dan Campbell is going to outcoach Mike McCarthy, and he will advance the Lions to the conference championship for the first time since God knows when.
All right. So far we've got in my scenario it's Browns Bills in the AFC Championship, and then we've both got 49ers Lions. He's got Ravens Bills and 49ers Lions. So I'll go first with my scenario. Bills Browns. I feel like this is where the Joe Flacco story ends. I feel like he's going to ride off into the sunset in the conference championship game. Bills have just been way too hot of late. They've been on fire. Josh Allen has been pushing his MVP case. He's been great, and then just both defenses. Obviously, Cleveland's is better, but Buffalo's is above average, which sometimes is good enough to win in your home environment. So I just feel that it's going to be Buffalo in my scenario. Now in yours, it's going to be that's going to be interesting. I wonder what your take is.
Yeah, it would be Ravens Bills for me, which I'm torn because I know Josh Allen is one of the hottest players in the league. Josh Allen, I think, is one of the best players at this moment in time, best quarterbacks for the last few weeks at least. Um, I mean, Lamar Jackson has been arguably the best. Josh Allen has been great these past few weeks, but Lamar Jackson has been probably the best quarterback this entire season. Probably going to win MVP. I don't care if people say Dak Prescott is going to win it. I don't think he is.
He could. I mean, I'm not
I'm just stating
against
my
it.
opinion, what I feel in my heart. Um, but I think the Ravens defense and M&T Bank Stadium is going to be rowdy as always. They're going to get in Josh Allen's head, and a guy like Zay Flowers or maybe like a Rashad Bateman are going to make a play late. That's going to seal the deal. So I think the Ravens take it in a very close, low scoring game.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the NFC because in the other recording I did my thing. So we'll to just cut this part out. But anyways, we're gonna move on to the NFC where we have 49ers versus the Lions. And now this is, in my opinion, where the Lions run's gonna end. This is a really tough matchup for them where 49ers have a really good defense and a really good offense. And while the Lions defense is very much improved from how bad it was last year, it's still not one of the top end units in the league like the 49ers are. It's Brock Purdy. He wants revenge for I guess the Lions haven't done anything to him, but from from last season where he got hurt in the NFC Conference Championship game, and a game where I think they would have won if he would have been healthy. So, assuming Brock Purdy stays healthy for this one, I think the 49ers are going to take it. But next year, I feel will be the Lions' year to go all the way.
Yeah, and as much as I want the Lions to go all the way, I do think this is where their run ends. I think Brock Purdy is going to have a great game through the air. Uh, and I think the Lions offense really has not much against the 49ers defense. They don't match up well against them. Um, and I think Kyle Shanahan and Dan Campbell, by the way, What a coaching battle that would be. But
Yeah.
um, I think both teams will get really creative early and be aggressive early. And I think that's where the Lions would make a couple more mistakes than the Niners. And I think the Niners are just the better team overall, and I think they win.
All right. So your Super Bowl is Ravens 49ers, which boo, but I digress. And my Super Bowl is Bills 49ers. I'm not I'm not booing anything. I'm just booing the fact that that's the Super Bowl logo and it's the Ravens and the 49ers colors. But anyways, so who wants to go first with their Super Bowl prediction?
You can go.
All right. So in my scenario, I'm saying that the Bills are going to be playing the 49ers. Now, the Bills, I believe, were the hottest team in football coming into this game. They've swept through the AFC, but in my scenario, they haven't really had that much of a challenge where the Browns are good, but they're not great. And the Chiefs have not been good this year. I feel like this would be the toughest team the Bills had faced in the playoffs. And I feel like Josh Allen would make one too many mistakes in a Super Bowl scenario. I feel like Josh Allen, who is a great quarterback, by the way. I'm not dogging on Josh Allen. I just feel like under all the bright lights in Las Vegas in the Super Bowl, I feel like he'll have a couple back-breaking interplay, missed throws or interceptions or something like that. That'll change the facet of this game. Brock Purdy's hungry. Everybody slept on him. He was the last pick in the draft. To make it to the Super Bowl would be just like a perfect like chapter to his hopefully long NFL career. And I just feel like the 49ers would take this. While I think the Bills match up pretty well with them, it's just the quarterback battle is where I get a little strewn because I don't think Brock Purdy's making as many mistakes as Josh Allen is. While I think Josh Allen might be the better quarterback, but it is a debate, which is crazy that it's a debate at this point. The last overall pick versus a first rounder, or an early first rounder like Josh Allen. But I think Brock Purdy takes this one. And I feel like this is the closest the Bills get to the playoffs for a bit. I mean, to the Super Bowl for a bit.
In my scenario, I have the one seeds. I know. Also, the Super Bowl logo colors for like the third year in a row. This will just prove the NFL is scripted. Um, that's unimportant. Um, Obviously, last time these teams played in the regular season, it wasn't pretty for Brock Purdy and their offense. I think it was like 33 to 19,
There's a
something like
lot
that.
to a little, is what I
It
know.
was Brock Purdy threw four picks, a couple of which were off of deflections that were just really unlucky. I think Kyle Hamilton had two. Um, but I think Kyle Shanahan will outsmart John Harbaugh. And I think the 49ers defense with especially defensive line with Nick Bosa, Chase Young, uh, and Eric Armstead and whoever their other guys are, they're loaded up front. The front seven is just insane. Um, but I think Brock Purdy, I doubt he's not going to throw four interceptions again. He'll throw at least one, maybe two, but I think the 49ers defense is going to be able to hold the Ravens this time as opposed to last time they played. Um, Obviously last time it was in Baltimore and not Las Vegas. So that plays a factor. But I think the 49ers offense is going to show up as they would have in the first couple games of the playoffs this season. Um, and I think the 49ers hold with a score of 31 to 24.
Oh, I didn't do my score. I haven't
Okay.
really thought about it, but in this scenario, I want to say it's like 27 to 37 San Francisco, which is similar to what your score is. But I just feel like it'd be like 30-27. Bills need to stop. They drive down the field, score a touchdown with like a minute left. That like it's that kind of ending. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So we both got the 49ers winning the Super Bowl, which I feel like it's a little bit of like a boring pick at this point, but the 49ers are just too good having all of these. But we didn't even really mention Christian McCaffrey or Debo Samuel when talking about them, but they are just crazy talented, they're both positionless players where they could play. Debo Samuel's a wide back. Christian McCaffrey's a receiver and a running back's body. He's got the speed of a running back, the catching skills of the receiver. George Kittle was the best tight end this season, besides maybe Sam Laporta, which that's just weird to say, but those two probably had the two best tight end seasons. And we didn't talk about the Ravens on their side. They don't have their top tight end, Mark Andrews, which he's obviously Lamar's safety blanket. I took that into a lot of effect when I was doing my Browns prediction. But so we both got 49ers winning the Super Bowl. I I don't disagree that the Ravens could be in the Super Bowl this year. I think their defense is just so good, and Lamar can do enough through the air now with a couple of solid receivers. I just like the storyline of Joe Flacco going back into Baltimore and winning, but I don't know. I could easily see the Ravens destroying the Browns in that setting.
Yeah,
But
the amount of storylines this playoff are a lot.
insane. Yeah.
Um, and also this is kind of random, but I feel like there's about seven, maybe eight teams who could realistically make the Super Bowl or
Oh
even
yeah, there's
win.
a lot of
Like
really
I,
good
I
teams
think
this year.
obviously the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, maybe even the Dolphins, the Eagles, the Lions, the Cowboys, and the 49ers could all I can realistically see all of them winning or at least making it.
Hmm.
So it's really wide open and our Super Bowl winners could be out, yeah, after the divisional round. For
Yeah,
all
the 49ers could get the Eagles in the second round like you have, and the Eagles could come out more motivated and they could win that game. You don't know in the NFL, and that's what's great about this year's playoffs. There's not one crazy good team. While the Ravens looked the best in the regular season, they have a history of playoff choking. But this year they're coming in fully healthy. I would not be surprised if they take it all this year. Again, I'm a storylines guy, and I really like the storyline of Joe Flacco going into Baltimore.
Yeah. We'll just go over some little short NFL news over the last week. Some really, really big news in terms of head coach firings. First, it was Arthur Smith at 12:01 a.m. on Monday.
I did see that. I was not
Um,
awake, but I saw the notification.
um, so he's gone. Ron Rivera for the Commanders is gone. But the big ones, Mike Vrabel for our Tennessee Titans has been fired. I believe it
Hmm.
was Tuesday
It
or
was Tuesday,
yeah, Tuesday.
which I'm still not sure how I feel about it 2 days later. I think I
Yeah.
like it, but like if Rand Carthon can bring in the Texans offensive coordinator, which he has connections to from his time in the San Francisco organization. But I would also be fine with a Ben Johnson, a Dan Quinn, which I would prefer an offensive minded coach. But Dan Quinn's great. I don't know. There's a lot of great options, but I feel like Vrabel's a great coach, and I feel like he's going to be the next great coach for the Patriots for the next 20 years. But
And even bigger news, Pete Carroll is now returning as head coach for the Seahawks. And then, and
like an
even,
assistant advisor, right? Pete
yeah,
Carroll, he's not fired, but they're basically firing him while saying, "You're the best coach we've ever had. Here, have more money."
yeah. And then, in even bigger news, Bill Belichick is no longer the head coach of the New England Patriots.
No, that one feels like the weirdest. It's going to be weird if Belichick goes anywhere else. It's going to be weird seeing him in a place that's not New England because I've known all my life him being in New England, which is just it's just crazy.
Yeah, it'll be Really weird.
Anything else we need to cover? Sam Laporta might not be available for the Lions game. TJ Watt, we mentioned, will not play.
The
Kenny Pickett, I
Dolphins
haven't
are
really seen an
Dolphins are
update on.
beat up on defense.
Yeah, I haven't seen an update on Kenny Pickett, at least not recently. So from all I know, it could still be Mason Rudolph, but Kenny Pickett could show up last second. Wink Martindale is out as the Giants DC after shouting real loud at Brian Dable.
Shouting some naughty, naughty words.
I think that's all the news we need to cover for today.
Yep. Well, we might put a little clip of Hayden doing snow tubing here at the end. Maybe, maybe not, but
If we decide to cut out this part and just put in the
yeah, I know. Just
footage,
randomly.
yeah. You could put it at the beginning when you say
Yeah,
Hayden's out skiing in Indiana. You could put it like right there into before we start talking again.
yeah. But that'll do it for our return. The full NFL 2024 playoff predictions. We both had the 49ers coming out on top. I'm sure my mom would be thrilled with that being a 49ers
Yeah.
fan. But that'll do it for this video, and we might be back next week for a wild card reaction. That's all for this video. See you next week.
See you.